Hi everyone, and welcome to the quantitative versus qualitative lecture video. As we talk about choosing your data collection strategy, I want to quickly distinguish quantitative and qualitative research so that you understand some of the terminologies that we'll be using this semester. There are three major differences between quantitative and qualitative research. The first difference, which you may be already aware of, is the difference in the type of data collected. Quantitative data is numerical in nature, whereas qualitative data is anything else. Most commonly, qualitative data is sensory, so it's things that you can see, smell, hear, feel, taste, etc. Which brings me to the second difference, the difference between quantitative and qualitative research in terms of research purpose. Remember that previously you learned about the four different types of research purposes that they have. While any research approach can be used for any research purpose, most commonly qualitative data is used for exploratory and descriptive research, which makes sense if you think about it. If you don't know anything about the topic, then how would you figure out what you needed to count? Similarly, describing a room using quantitative data may give you a good inventory of the contents, but it won't give you a feel for the room setup. For example, my home office contains one desk, two bookcases, a file cabinet, and two office chairs. That's quantitative information because it's numerical. But the only way to really describe the feel of the room is to use descriptive phrases. My desk is set up facing towards the living room so I can work on the PC while my family enjoys a family movie. My bookcases are filled with a mix of textbooks, fiction novels, and my collection of antique gold leaf classic novels. None of the shelves are completely full because I also have several knickknacks and photo frames highlighted, including the photograph that was taken the day I adopted my former stepdaughter. Could you document my bookcase with numbers? Absolutely. But can you get that type of context without qualitative data? Nope. Now, on the other hand, explanatory research is most commonly done using quantitative data. That's because explanatory studies usually require a lot of participants so that the researchers can accurately show a cause and effect relationship. Quantitative data can be collected more easily from larger populations, allowing for more convenient explanatory statements. So this is the most common type of data that we see for explanatory research. Now, finally, I do want to mention here that there's a whole research movement towards mixed methods in which quantitative and qualitative data are used together to make statements or final conclusions. This type of research is currently used most often in evaluation research, which we'll explore in a later semester. Due to time limits, though, I won't spend very much time on mixed methods in this course, but if you do go into a social science graduate program, you will likely be exposed to further discussion on this topic. The last difference I want to highlight is the impact of qualitative and quantitative data on the data analysis process. These three pieces all work together. Because quantitative data is often used for explanatory research, it usually falls into a deductive process approach. That means you start with a theory or idea, you develop a hypothesis to test, and then you actually gather data to see if your hypothesis is supported or not. But with qualitative data, since you're often doing more exploratory approaches, you don't start with a theory. Typically, qualitative research starts with the actual observations themselves, meaning you gather your data before you have ideas about what you're going to find. Then you analyze the data and create theories using findings from your analysis. That's called inductive research. So just FYI here, one of my pet peeves with Sherlock Holmes is that they always talk about Sherlock Holmes and his deductive reasoning. However, if you think about Sherlock's methods, he actually looks for clues first, then he develops a theory from the crime after he gathers the clues and analyzes them in relation to one another. So what type of research is he doing? Inductive. My family gets really tired of me pointing this out, especially when we were going through elementary and Sherlock talked about his deductive process every time. And I kept saying, nope, nope, it's inductive. All right, well, here's that deductive versus inductive process broken down further for you, along with a great example that shows the differences between the two. In the deductive method, you start with a hypothesis that the more you study, the higher your grades will be. This guess is represented by the red line, and it goes straight up. Then you collect your data, asking students how many hours they studied and what grade they have, and you put the data and your guess together to see how well they go. On the inductive side, you start by asking students about their studying habits and their grades. You don't have any preset guesses, so that's why there's no red line in that first part. Instead, you create your theorized line after you collect your data. Notice that this process does leave you with a conclusion that better represents the relationship between grades and studying. But again, this process is usually done using qualitative data, so it's more time consuming than a deductive quantitative analysis. So it's a trade-off. All right, told you it was a quick lecture. Thanks for watching, everyone.